One of the most profitable puzzle games in Western history belonged entirely to a government that strictly outlawed private enterprise. In 1984, a software engineer named Alexei Pajitnov was working at the Soviet Academy of Sciences in Moscow. His daily task was testing the capabilities of new government hardware. The machine he used, the Electronica 60, was a primitive terminal. It had no graphical capabilities, it could only display text. To test the system, Pajitnov decided to program a puzzle game. Since he couldn't draw actual squares, he used open and closed brackets. When pushed together, they formed the blocks. The hardware constraints dictated the design. Pajitnov reduced the traditional puzzle shapes from 5 blocks down to 4, creating tetrominos. Because the screen memory would fill up so quickly, he programmed full horizontal rows to vanish the moment they were completed. By stripping away graphics and memory, the hardware limitations forced Pajitnov to focus entirely on the game's core loop. The game was so absorbing that Pajitnov and his colleagues found it difficult to finish their actual work. Soviet research labs across Moscow began to see productivity stall as scientists spent hours stacking falling blocks. Soon, a student ported the code to the IBM PC. This added color graphics and made the game easy to share on floppy disks. Since the Soviet Union lacked a commercial software market, the game spread through a sneaker net, people physically passing copied disks to friends and colleagues. Within months, the disks traveled across the Soviet bloc and slipped into Hungary, where they were discovered by Western software scouts. Western publishers saw a hit in the making, but they faced a hurdle. You could not legally buy a product from a Soviet state employee. A scramble broke out. Western businessmen like Robert Stein began selling the game's rights to other companies before he had actually secured a contract from the Soviets. This created a legal mess. Major publishers like Microsoft immediately began selling unauthorized, pirated PC versions of the game in the US and the UK. Atari made a corporate blunder of its own. Believing they had purchased legitimate console rights from Microsoft, they manufactured hundreds of thousands of unauthorized cartridges for the Nintendo Entertainment System. The only organization that could settle the dispute was ELORG, the Soviet agency tasked with controlling the country's software exports. While corporations fought over who owned the game, the product itself technically still belonged to the Soviet government. While the legal battle raged over PCs and consoles, Nintendo was preparing to launch the Game Boy. A publisher named Hank Rogers was determined to secure Tetris as the launch game for the new handheld. Rogers bypassed the standard channels. He flew to Moscow on a tourist visa and walked directly into the ELORG headquarters uninvited. During negotiations, Rogers discovered a major oversight.